Hi, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a little while, so I wanted to bring you a very simple crochet tutorial. It's actually not about how to crochet something, it's how to make plastic yarn, or Plarn as it is commonly known. This is a great way to reuse plastic grocery bags, and it's cheap because you don't actually have to spend any money. Other than, groceries for getting bags and stuff, or you can just get them for free. A lot of people will give them away. And it's kind of relaxing. It does take a long time, so it's not very time efficient, but I just love that I can recycle my plastic bags. And you can take this plastic yarn and you can make a ton of different things. What I made, and I love, and I've been using a lot, is a reusable grocery bag. So I've turned my disposable grocery bags into a reusable one. I've used this several times and it has held up wonderfully and I absolutely love it. So Plarn is not only economical and slightly more environmentally friendly, it is very useful. And I really like that. And I know it can be kind of difficult to figure out how to make it. I actually looked up a tutorial. It was just a written tutorial, and it actually took very little trial and error. This process is very simple, and so I wanted to share it with you, and I hope that you can soon enjoy making Plarn and using it in your projects. So in order to make plastic yarn, or Plarn, as I will probably be referring to it in the rest of this video, you're going to need a few items. You should probably have all of these in your house, so it shouldn't be too difficult. First and foremost, of course, you're going to need some plastic grocery bags. Now, depending on your project, you can either use different colors or you can use the same color. It just depends on how you want it to look. Keeping in mind that a bag the size of the one I showed you took around 60 to 80 bags. I didn't quite keep a count of it, but it was a lot. So keep that in mind. If you have a lot of the same kind, you should probably use those first and then mix and match when you run out of the other ones. Or if you don't mind a mix and match look, then that's fine. Just make sure they're the same texture. I don't know how it would work if you mix the heavier plastic bags with the lighter, cheaper grocery bags. So I would recommend using the same type for the project, even if they're not the same color. So the other few items you're going to need a marker, some sharp scissors, and a ruler. You could also use a measuring tape too, just something that will tell you 1-inch marks. I've used a measuring tape before. It's not as easy because it moves, so a ruler's a little bit easier. So you are going to take your plastic bag. You'll want to inspect it to make sure there aren't too many holes or tears in it. A few are okay. You can just mark those sections and throw them away, or put them in a little pile to take to the plastic bag recycling thing at your local grocery store. And then you're going to flatten it out and fold in these sides here so you have a nice flat surface. And then you're going to fold it in half this way, smooth it out, and then you're going to fold it in half again. Pretty simple stuff so far. So now what you're going to do is you're going to cut off the bottom and the top. We don't need those. They don't work very well for plastic yarn. So this is why you want sharp scissors, because you don't want really jagged lines. They will work. I mean, plastic yarn does not have to be super precise, so that's okay. But the straighter the better. And you don't want to like tear your plastic either. I'm just going to cut those off, set those to the side, put that with your plastic bag waste if you want to take it to be recycled, or just throw it away. So now you have this nice flat piece of bag without the top and bottom, and now you're going to take your ruler and you are going to put marks every 1 inch. So just take your marker. I find that a Sharpie seems to work the best. I don't think a pen would mark very well. Also, a pen could potentially puncture the bag, which would make it a little problematic. I usually have a longer ruler than this. I could not find it, so I have my ruler 3-hole punch combo because I'm an adult. I think I had this since high school, maybe? Alright, and you see this end here? It's not quite an inch. I'm going to put an X here, which means that I am not going to save that piece. I also do that if I notice that there's a section that has a hole or a tear in it, and that makes it really easy for me. So now you're going to cut these different sections. I'm going to cut off this section first that I'm not going to need. Try to keep the bag as straight as possible, otherwise you're going to wind up with kind of wonky sections, which has happened to me before, and you can still use them. I just prefer to not have the wonky sections if I can help it, but you know, things happen. See, I pulled this out and you have this little wonky bit which can make your yarn look a little weird, so I'm going to cut that off. So now you're just going to cut each section and put it in a pile. I usually put this in a bowl when I'm doing this because, as you'll see, you're going to need a lot of this. Like I said, it's like, I don't know, 60 to 80 bags for a decent sized grocery bag. Probably less if you're doing just a smaller market bag, more maybe if you want to do either a larger bag or if you want to do a plastic mat. It just really depends on the project. If you don't know, I believe that this actually got started, the plastic yarn, making things out of plastic yarn, was because it was a good way to make reusable mats for the homeless. They're easy to take care of, you can rinse them off, and they're not expensive to make. And you know, everybody has plastic grocery bags, or just about everybody, and it's a good way to recycle the material so it has a little bit of extra life before you eventually have to recycle it or throw it away. One of the unfortunate things about plastic grocery bags is that while they can be recycled, they have to be recycled only with other grocery bags. Otherwise, when it gets into other recyclables, it makes the whole like cube of recycled material basically useless. Plastic bags can be kind of a pain when it comes to reusing recycled materials. So they either suggest that you bring your plastic bags to a recycling bin at one of your local grocery stores or throwing them in the trash, which is not ideal, but is actually better than putting them with your regular recycling. I did not know that until I watched a special about it. But anyway, so now we have our little pile, let it focus, of these little sections. So you're going to unfold one of your sections, and it looks like a big loop. It's actually a little more. It's probably about, let's see, I can measure this. I'd say it's more than a foot. It's probably, yeah, it's probably about 1.5 feet, a little bit less than that. Anyway, you have this nice long loop, and then you are going to unravel another one, and then you're going to attach these two loops together, which is pretty easy to do. And take the one loop in one hand. I usually use my non-dominant hand to hold the loop that I'm putting stuff through. You're going to take this other loop, stick it through, so now you have this, and then you're going to take the tail of the one you stuck through, and you're going to feed it through the top of the same loop. You're going to basically feed the head through the tail, or the tail through the head, essentially, and then you're going to pull it together. You don't want to pull it too hard. You can pull it fairly tight like that, but you don't want to pull too hard, otherwise you may break the Plarn. Once it's actually crocheted into something or knitted into something, it actually is really strong. It's just a matter of when you're making the yarn, you want to make sure that it's not ripped, because that kind of defeats the purpose. So now we're going to repeat this process until we have achieved the amount of Plarn that we want, or we are out of plastic bags. Whichever comes first. Again, stick one through the end here, stick the tail through the head, and gently pull together. Now I know this doesn't look like yarn. Believe me, it looks kind of silly, but it actually is going to be able to be crocheted like this. And I will show you how in a minute. Alright, I'm going to finish these up and then I will see you when we are done looping these all together. Okay, so now I have finished putting all of the Plarn from one bag together, and I've got this little tiny ball. This isn't going to get you super far, but it's a start. And then it's really easy to attach more yarn. You're just going to attach the loops to this end here, if my camera will focus. And if you have a pre-existing large ball, again, it's very simple to attach it. Stick the tail through, stick the head through, and then you're just going to very carefully pull it together. You want to make sure they're fairly straight. And there you go. And then all you have to do is wind the Plarn around the big ball. Now, this may look like a lot of Plarn. This will not even get you that far when you're crocheting with it. It's amazing how much space this takes up. But it's nice too because you're recycling quite a few bags by using this method. Now, you're probably wondering, how do you crochet with this? Or how do you knit with this? Now, I don't knit too much, but I'm sure you can find videos on it. But you're basically just using it like regular yarn. Cast on like normal. Just be careful when you're poking your needle in there that you're not, damaging the plastic. But I can show you how to crochet with it, because crocheting is what I do most of the time. You will likely need a larger crochet hook. This is an 8mm crochet hook or an L hook. I found that this size works pretty well for me. You might be able to get away with a J hook or a 6mm hook, but I wouldn't really want to use anything smaller than that because this is a pretty big yarn. So you're going to want to make sure both the strands are just stuck together. You're just going to hold it. And then you just pull some extra here. You're just gonna crochet with it like you do. Create your slip knot. I don't know if the way I create slip knots is weird or not, but that's just how I do it. And then you're just going to pull it through. And you just keep a good hold on it. Pull it through. And that's all you're doing. And it's actually stronger than you would think. I was so worried that I was going to break this when I was crocheting with it, but I never did. I made this the first time I ever made Plarn, and it has held up over several grocery trips with heavy items in it. And it's been very, very useful. I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, so that is how you make plastic yarn, and just a little demonstration of how you can crochet with it. I apologize to any of my knitting viewers. Once I practice my knitting a little bit more and get some bigger knitting needles, I may show you how to knit with this. But in the meantime, I am just going to be demonstrating crochet. But anyway, thank you for bearing with me, and I hope that this was very helpful for you. So that was the tutorial on how to make Plarn. I hope you found this useful. If I wasn't clear about anything or you have more questions, please leave them down in the description or down in the comments below. I am more than happy to answer any questions. I am by no way, shape, or form a master at this. I learned how to do this only like 4 or 5 months ago. I've only made one project with it because I got so caught up in Christmas crocheting that I had no time, because doing the actual crocheting of the bags, not difficult, doesn't take that much time. This part takes a long time, and like I mentioned, you need probably 60 to 80 bags to do something like this. I wish I had kept count. I think next time I make a bag, I'm going to keep an actual count of how many grocery bags it takes me, but it's around 60 to 80, and oh my gosh, it takes forever. I cut out a bunch of footage of me just putting the Plarn from one bag together, but it took me like 3-4 minutes just to do one bag. So it's not the most time efficient, but if you're like me and like to sit and watch TV a lot, just do this while you're watching TV. Instead of crocheting or knitting, just make some Plarn for you to crochet and knit with later. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you found this helpful. Any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thank you so much. Bye.